but you can't tell anyone. I'm a cook food woman. I cannot cook food. I don't know how to cook food because I'm homosexual. Rex has risen. White girls fuck dogs. I said my dog licks my ass. I didn't say I fucked him. I don't fuck dogs. I let them lick my ass. She's a trap that fucks dogs. You're a fucking nigger that picks cotton. Shut the fuck up. Fucking nigger. Nigger that picks cotton.
Gross, and you probably don't even work, do you? Because you're so fucking lazy because you smoke marijuana all day. So, whatever. The bottom line is, what are you laughing about? What's
because
so funny?
This is going on News 8.
Oh, good. It's going on.
Because you don't care, right? You don't care, right, ma'am? This is going on News 8.
Illegally, you don't. I am contacting my lawyer.
This is going on News 8. Ma'am, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me, or that's assault and battery. You're going on News 8 for swearing and for saying you don't do this and that. Yeah, exactly. You don't give a what about us?
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, I've never understood why black people joined and continue to join the military. I don't understand why a black person would go to war for this country that still votes every 25 years whether they allow you to continue to vote or not. Historically, we have fought for this country's freedom more than we fought for our own. We fight to put on their uniforms to go do their job. And if you can go to war to go fight for a country that never respected you or even saw you as a human, then it shouldn't be a problem to go to war for yourself and for your children and future generations. But no matter how bad we're treated, we continue to run and sign up to go join their army. They say the first person to ever die for America was a black man named Crispus Attucks. And during the Revolutionary War, George Washington was getting crushed until he ran to black people for help. He promised freedom to any black person who helped him fight. But as soon as the war was over, he went back on his word and passed the Fugitive Slave Act. And he tried to send back as many people as he could who went up north to help him fight the war. And it led to so many black people who were already free being kidnapped and sent into slavery, including children. Abraham Lincoln did the same thing in the Civil War. When he was losing the war, he promised black people freedom. But in reality, he didn't free a single person. And then after the Civil War, the dominant society specifically attacked black veterans because most of them were armed and trained soldiers, which America has always feared. They went out of their way to lynch black people still in their military uniforms just to send a message. Back in 1918, a brother named Charles Lewis, who was literally on his way home from serving in World War I. Now, this brother Charles Lewis was waiting on the train to go home when the sheriff got on the train looking for what he said was a robbery suspect. So the cop approached this brother, who was still in uniform, and he showed him his paperwork, but they got into an argument. So the cops charged his brother Charles Lewis with assault and resisting arrest. So that night, a mob of 100 broke into the jail, pulled his brother Charles Lewis out of his cell, and then they beat him before they hung him and left his body there while he was still wearing his uniform. During the Red Summer in 1919, another brother who was a veteran, Lucius McCartney, was lynched in Louisiana. They accused his brother Lucius McCartney of attempting to assault a white woman. And the lynch mob of close to 1,500 shot more than 1,000 rounds into his body. Then they tied his dead body to a car and drug him through the black neighborhoods to send a message. Then they threw whatever was left of his body into a bonfire. It didn't matter he was a veteran that just fought in World War I. After World War II, they treated the Nazis they captured better than the black soldiers that fought with them. But black people never stopped joining the army when we never had a place there. And it never meant any kind of protection for us as a whole or even one person individually. In Pennsylvania, a brother that was a veteran, Everett Palmer Jr., died in police custody 2 days after he turned himself in for a DUI. Now let's see what led to the death of this brother, Everett Palmer Jr.
The tortured story of a family in Queens trying to figure out how and why their son and their brother, an Army veteran, died in police custody in Pennsylvania. 14 months ago, he was driving back home when he stopped at a police station to try to clear up an old summons. And that's where he died, in jail. Now his family on a mission to find out what happened. Here's Josh Einiger.
It's been 14 months of sorrow, of pain.
It's devastating. Our family is devastated.
But after all this time, Dwayne Palmer is no closer to an answer, no closer to knowing what happened to his brother Everett.
You vacillate between depression, anger, for quest and thirst for information.
41-year-old Everett Palmer was a Queens-born father of two, an Army vet. On April 7th of last year, he presented himself to the police in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for a past drunk driving case. They arrested him on the spot, but after 2 days at the York County Prison, he died in custody.
I haven't seen a case with more unanswered questions than this one.
Family attorney Lee Merritt says the Palmers have waited long enough. They do have an autopsy report which suggests Palmer was somehow high on meth, even after 2 days in jail, and needed to be restrained. As for the manner of death, that's still undetermined.
Where's the narrative? When are you going to tell this family who's been waiting for 14 months what actually happened? And they're not looking for someone to blame. They're looking for answers.
But the coroner says the Palmer family won't be getting those answers anytime soon. Justice in central Pennsylvania, she says, will not be rushed.
We are in an era where people see a TV show and they think it's solved in an hour and they think that's how this works. But this is not how this works.
My mom had 5 children. She now has 4 children. And we have no credible explanation as to why her second child, Everett Palmer Jr., is no longer with us.
The district attorney in York County, Pennsylvania, has jurisdiction over this case. His office told me tonight they'd have no comment because of an active investigation. But 14 months into that investigation, Everett Palmer's family wonders how much longer they'll have to wait.
Now, back in 2016, his brother Everett Palmer Jr. got into a single-car accident. When the paramedics came, they said they smelled alcohol and he was over the legal limit. But this brother ended up getting hurt to the point where he had to be flown to York Hospital. But they charged him and gave his brother a court date. And I'm not sure if he was aware of it because he was in the hospital or what happened. So then when his brother did find out he had a warrant, he went to go turn himself in to clear things up. And the police arrested him and sent him to York prison. So after being in jail for 2 days in a single cell, at 4:30 in the morning, they say he became agitated and started hitting his head against the cell. So they took him back to York Hospital where he was pronounced dead not even an hour and a half later. Now, there's no real explanation on how he died. There's no witnesses. There's no cameras. His family hired their own forensic pathologist who said his injuries aren't consistent with suicide. But the coroner, Pam Gray, blamed it on anything that could be self-inflicted. One minute they say he died from banging his head on the cell. Then the coroner said he had meth in the system, plus he had sickle cell, which made him agitated and bang his head against the wall, and all of these factors had to do with his death.
Yeah, it was April 2018 when Everett Palmer Jr. was taken from his cell here at the York County Prison, taken to York Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Now there are a lot of questions about how he died. Pennsylvania State Police are investigating because Palmer was a prison inmate at the York County Prison. He was here because of DUI charges dating back to 2016. The coroner says he was in a single cell when he became agitated and hit his head against the inside of his cell door. The coroner says Palmer's excited state associated with methamphetamine toxicity during restraint led to his death.
One of the questions I'm getting is how the methamphetamine got into the system. That's certainly one of the things that we're looking at, that law enforcement is looking at.
But the manner of death is still undetermined. The coroner says a contributing factor is probable sickling red cell disorder, which can cause shortness of breath. The attorney for Palmer's family was interviewed by CNN. He wants the York County District Attorney to conduct a thorough investigation into what happened in the cell.
Gathering any reports about physical contact that was required in that cell, releasing the videos to the family and to their attorney so that we can see what happened.
The coroner says that the inmate's family has its own forensic pathologist to look into the death, including looking at his heart, brain, and throat, which is still being held as part of the investigation. The coroner says that this case has led to threats being placed against her, and she tells me that there is now extra security in place outside her office building where the York County coroner is located.
Now, this brother Everett Palmer Jr. had been in jail for 2 days, kept in a single cell, but they claim he became agitated because he was high off meth. Now, I don't know if they got the right demographic because this brother has no history of being on meth. We know this brother may have been drunk before, but there's no evidence he's ever been high off meth. Now, the forensic pathologist the family hired can't finish their autopsy because the coroner, Pam Gray, took this brother's brain, heart, and throat before sending the body back.
Palmer Jr. died in April 2018. Now, he was on his way from Delaware to Queens to visit family here, but stopped off in York, Pennsylvania to take care of an outstanding warrant having to do with the DUI. 2 days later, his family is told that he died in police custody after an incident, quote, following an excited state, and that he hit his head on the cell door and was restrained. Now, his body was returned to his family, but missing organs, the heart, throat, and the brain. And now, it's not unusual for organs to be removed and held after autopsies. However, the family has sought to get samples of the organs so their own pathologist can do testing, but has hit roadblock after roadblock. They say the coroner has ruled out death from natural causes and suicide, but the cause of death remains inconclusive. His heartbroken mother believes there's more to all of this.
The most frustrating part is my son being murdered and no longer being in our lives. How he was murdered and not having any answers.
To this point, when we have made demands, we've either gotten no response at all or vague promises for clarity in the future, and that future has not come quick enough.
Now, methamphetamine toxicity was cited in the ME report, but the family says he never used meth. The family feels very strongly that there's some sort of cover-up here. Now, Everett Palmer Jr., he was an Army veteran and also the father of two.
One of the things that our attorney, Martin Curtin, Esquire, said, that we don't believe that my brother's death was a suicide as first indicated. So what we do know is that on April 9th, we were informed of his death from the York County Coroner's Office. And they said that they alleged that he had beat his head against the cells and then subsequently died from his injuries. We know that from the doctor that we hired that is not the determinative cause of death at all. As a matter of fact, we know that when we received his body for burial, that there was significant bruising in about his head and his arms and his body. We know that his head was damaged so severely that in order for us to have an open casket, we had to have a covering for his head.
And that's tell us why else are they not responding to our demands for my son's organs? And they said 90 days. It's been over 90 days. And I want to know why my son is no longer with us. Hopefully none of you will ever have to lose a child, and you'll never have to know the pain, and especially in a way that he has died. And I believe that they beat him in the cell. They tased him. I believe they destroyed his heart while tasing him. I believe they beat him so bad on his head, they damaged the brain. And I believe they choked him to death after that. And that's why they took those 3 organs. That's our belief. And because they're not returning the organs to us, I stand by that belief. And we want answers, and we want justice for my son. My son was 41 years old. He was a good man, father, loving son, loving brother, loving friend. And he served this country, and there's no reason for him to have to die, period, and die that way.
Now, not only did they take this brother's brain, heart, and throat without asking the family's permission, they sent his body back without even informing the family they took his organs. They only found out because they hired somebody to do their own autopsy. And this coroner, Pam Gray, talking about cases don't be solved in an hour like on TV, like it hasn't been 14 months. And it doesn't usually take a coroner 2 years. And plus, what does his throat have to do with anything they said happened to him? And now they're doing everything they can to block the family from even getting tissues of his organs. Now, I know I wouldn't trust him with any of my organs. We seen what happened with the sister Henrietta Lacks. But this is the reason we need our own everything, including our own to do our own investigations. In South Bend, Indiana, another brother, Eric Logan, was shot by police. Sergeant Ryan O'Neill. Now, they claim this brother was breaking into cars. And when this cop Ryan O'Neill approached him, he said this brother, Eric Logan, had a knife in his hand. He said when he told him to drop it, he had the knife over his head in his hand, raising it towards the cop. And he refused to drop it and comply, so he had no other choice but to shoot him. But then on a police call, you heard him say he threw the knife, and then he shot him. Meaning he didn't have a knife in his hand when he shot him. Now, even though this cop was supposed to have his body camera on, he didn't turn it on. And he didn't have his dash cameras on because he never turned his police lights on. I guess he stopped and just accused a random black man of breaking into cars. And his brother Ryan Logan has no history of stealing, has no history of breaking into cars. But this cop Ryan O'Neal does have a history of being racist. While he was training another cop, he saw a black woman walking, and he asked him, "Do you want some of that dark meat?" Then when he passed a black man walking with a white woman, he said, "I hate seeing that. It makes me sick. It makes me want to throw up," which is the classic story of America. And since the mayor Pete Buttigieg took over, he fired the black police chief who was suing the city for discrimination and has only ever appointed white police chiefs ever since. And since this mayor been in office, the police are less diverse and now 90% of cops are white. And most probably have mindsets like the cop Ryan O'Neal. But until we learn how to defend ourselves before defending the country who attacks us, then we're going to continue to get the same results. You can't beg or ask somebody for power because they can take it away at any time. At the end of the day, we are all we got. And until we get on code, it's going to be the same thing over and over and over again.
Now, Democratic candidate Pete Buttigieg off to a fast start, but now facing a firestorm in his own community. The mayor of South Bend, Indiana, was confronted by angry residents after the fatal shooting of a black man by a white police officer. Our chief national affairs correspondent, Tom Llamas, here with the story. Good morning, Tom.
George, good morning to you. And you will remember when you sat down with Mayor Pete right here in GMA, he said he was qualified to run for president because he's dealt with tough issues in the past, like racially sensitive officer-involved shootings. Well, it's happened again in his city, and this time the tension is mounting.
Get the people that are racist off the streets.
This morning, Mayor Pete Buttigieg trying to balance a city on edge with his quest to be president. On Sunday, facing outraged residents in his hometown of South Bend, Indiana. The meeting called to address the shooting death of Eric Logan by a white police officer.
These people was unheard. That's why y'all getting the reaction y'all getting. So stop telling people shut up.
Buttigieg remaining calm, even while being constantly interrupted by fired-up constituents.
That is their last day on the street. I would love to be able to finish my reply if that's okay.
Another unit here, guy threw a knife at me.
The officer claims Logan, who was allegedly breaking into cars, had a knife and ignored repeated demands to drop it. But the officer didn't activate his body cam.
I don't
Thank you, ma'am.
fear nobody.
Now, residents are demanding action. The Democratic candidate coming off the campaign trail to answer questions. Logan's mother even confronting the mayor in front of cameras.
I've been in hell all my life. And y'all ain't doing a damn thing about me or my son or none of these people out here. It's time for you to do something. If you can't do it, step your down. And I'm tired of talking now. And I'm tired of hearing your lies. Right. Amen.
We asked Buttigieg about his city's brewing tensions and his leadership.
And these issues aren't easy. Part of how you earn your paycheck as a mayor is to walk into no-win situations. But we've done a lot of work. We've got a lot of work to do together.
And the timing of this critical issue for his city is tricky. He insists his campaign for president will go on, telling reporters yesterday he plans to participate in this week's debate and continue to serve his community to the best of his ability. But guys, he's 3 days away from that first primary debate. Incredibly important. It's likely to come up in the debate.
This is my 18-year-old son. I'm training him on how to survive and come home to us. So he's doing everything. The cop's getting out of the car now. And by the time the cop gets out of the car, he's been instructed before he pulls over to let all the windows down. All of his registration and insurance information and his driver's license whenever he drives the car is all clipped to his visor and the keys. So I've instructed him that the best thing to do is to place all three of those items, driver's license, insurance, and registration, and his keys on top of the car, and to have both hands outside of the car when the cop comes up. That way, when the cop comes up, anything that he needs, he can take from the top of the car. He can clearly see that he has no threat here. And I've also instructed my son, because the cop will more than likely tell him he can relax, he can put his hands inside the car, he's instructed to tell the cop that my father has advised me to stay in this position until you return to your car and you tell me that I'm free to go. This way that our young men will continue to come home. I purchased my son a car for his graduation, and I did not want to leave him unprepared as he traveled on the streets in Sarasota. And unfortunately, in the neighborhood that we live in right now, there has been an increase in policing due to some recent shootings. Totally understandable in that regard, but as a result, the cops have nothing to do when there's no shooting, so they pull people over randomly for seat belts and all of those things that normally would not occur if there wasn't an increase in policing in our community. This is a side effect to the shootings or shots being fired in our community, not necessarily due to anything other than the fact that they are out here to police in preparation for a shooting that may occur, but they got to have something to do in the meantime, and they're pulling people over, giving seatbelt tickets and all of those sorts of things. So I'm just trying to make sure that my son comes home, he's safe, and I hope that everybody in our community will share this video with their kids and teach them how to survive. Once again, recap: driver's license, registration, and insurance information, and the key to the vehicle are all placed on the hood of the car and hands outside. Now this car will not move, so the cop has no threat of him trying to run him over or anything like that. Cop is totally assured that he has an innocent person in the car.
You shouldn't have gave him no information. This is illegal. This is illegal search.
Somebody else stop you today?
Don't worry. No, he ain't got to answer no questions. He ain't got to answer no questions.
Just so you know, I got a body cam.
It don't matter. It ain't on though right now. You didn't press the button. I know law, bro. If you ain't committing no crime, you ain't got no business right here asking no question, interrogating them. This is a legal detain. What crime was committed? Who they say was watching? Who they said that did it? Who are you looking for? What's the person's name? What's the description of the person, officer? What's your badge number? What's your badge number?
Rosenbaum 161.
161? Okay. I'll be calling your office. They know who I am, Toy Battle. This is a legal search. You ain't supposed to do none of this. This is a legal stop, too. You have suspicion?
I'm not stopping.
You have suspicion? But you ain't supposed to ask that, though, because you're running them right now in leads.
You're free to go right now.
Yeah, you is free to go. He is free to go. He always free to go. And don't ask somebody else on how with their name without them committing crimes. That is illegal. Y'all time is almost up. All right? Don't ask nobody their name and their ID. That's illegal.
Everybody good out here?
Yeah, everybody always good out here. We only good when you ain't out here manipulating people. Have a nice day. Stop scanning people's names. Find some real criminals. Because next time it might cost you your badge. Yeah, for real. You know what the ultra-various law is? Stop breaking the law.
Not even robbery, man. You're getting harassed. Harassed? Yeah.
Oh man, I copy.
Why don't you mind your business?
You need to stop that man sitting on the ground, man.
30.
Sitting on the ground.
You got him? You got him?
Yeah. I'm not running nowhere. Sir, get off me, sir. Sir, don't grab. Sir, get off me. Get the me. Hey, look at
you. Lowen Ashton.
Yo, what the y'all? Oh my God. I'm suing y'all, yo. I'm suing y'all, yo. Record on the ground. Get on the ground now. Man, you better. Get on the ground. Yo, what the Get on the ground. Get your knee off of me.
You left that Lowen Ashton.
Bro. Yo, get on the ground. Yo. Hey, call my wife. Ground. Sit down. Call my wife. Sit down.
Sit down. Put your hand behind your back.
Sir, I can't.
Put your hand behind your back. There you go. He's putting it back.
I can't do nothing, yo. Don't tense up. Me up. I'm suing y'all.
Put your hand behind your back.
All right, get off my neck.
Sir, stop resisting. Put your hand behind your back.
Don't flip over here and get jacked up, bro. Yo.
There you go.
Hey, you see that? You see this? Y'all crazy, man.
Just need another unit or two.
Y'all can't. What is you touching me for? I didn't do nothing to you. My freedom of speech. Y'all is violating my amendments, yo. Y'all got me up. Y'all don't know who y'all with, yo. I swear y'all don't. I'm showing you is, yo. Why you checking me? That is illegal.
He's under arrest, yes.
For what? For what? What am I under arrest?
Just go to jail. Take your charge like a man.
For what?
Take your charge.
What am I going to jail for?
Because you don't know how to act.
Do you hear this? I don't know how to act.
Hey, search him. He hasn't been searched. Don't ever interfere with. What did you say? I didn't hear you. Just relax. Just go. Hey, leave my scene. Go. Leave. And don't you ever tell me how to do my job.
Police Commissioner Michael Harrison calls Sergeant Ethan Newberg's behavior disturbing and illegal.
WJZ is live at City Police Headquarters downtown. Paul Gessler has more of what we're learning tonight. Paul.
Well, Vic and Rick, last week, Commissioner Harrison called Newberg's actions disturbing, and today we got a glimpse of that body-worn camera video that led to criminal charges and was flagged by the Public Integrity Bureau.
Once you mind your business.
This is video the night of May 30th in southwest Baltimore. It shows a man urging Baltimore police to get a man off a wet sidewalk during a warrant check.
You got him? You got him?
Sergeant Ethan Newberg took exception and chased the man down.
The man did nothing to provoke Sergeant Newberg, whose actions were not just wrong, but deeply disturbing and illegal.
The disturbing and illegal part, according to Harrison and prosecutors, happens when Newberg's subordinate steps in and tackles the man.
I don't know how something like this would have been handled in the past, but I know that as soon as I saw this video, I knew how I would be handling it.
Last week, Harrison announced Sergeant Newberg, a 24-year veteran of the department, is facing charges of false imprisonment, second-degree assault, and misconduct in office. Newberg, a week prior, is caught on camera telling the man to accept his disorderly conduct charge.
Just go to jail. Take your charge like a man.
For what?
Take your charge.
What am I going to jail for?
Because you don't know how to act.
It is making their work even that much harder. It is making our compliance with the consent decree that much harder, and it is making building public trust with our community that much harder.
The city's police union last week blasted Commissioner Harrison's actions, calling them politically motivated. Harrison cites what he calls a horrible culture on display in the video, an officer who tried to intervene and de-escalate, who Newberg commanded to leave.
Just relax. Just go. Leave my scene. Go. Leave. And don't you ever tell me how to do my job.
Of note, Newberg, the sergeant now criminally charged, was Baltimore City's second highest paid employee last year. City records show he made $243,000, mostly in overtime. Back live now here at City Police Headquarters. I have put that body-worn camera video released to the media today on my Twitter and Facebook pages. A small group of us inside here today saw an extended, unredacted version of that video, and in it, Sergeant Newberg says of that neighborhood services officer who tried to calm him down, quote, "Take your hand-holding nonsense somewhere else. This is police work. This ain't no candlelight vigil."
There is growing outrage as dozens of police officers are accused of posting offensive and racist statements on social media. And now the investigation is expanding to other states. ABC's Gio Benitez is here with the story. Good morning, Gio.
Michael, good morning. Good morning, everyone. We're talking about public postings all across social media. And Philly's police commissioner believes they will undeniably impact the relationship between officers and the communities they serve. It's a massive investigation this morning from coast to coast.
No justice!
This morning, the Philadelphia Police Department under fire. Protests breaking out as 72 officers are taken off the streets, part of a social media scandal rocking 8 U.S. cities. The advocacy group Plainview Project compiling more than 5,000 racist and offensive Facebook posts allegedly made by 3,500 current and former officers nationwide.
We will not have racist police patrolling our streets.
The posts, some going back at least 8 years, include comments like "death to Islam," others promoting violence, one meme reading, "Get the protester plow," another saying, "I'll just shoot you and be done with it." The database also revealing multiple references to the Confederate flag.
It makes me sick, to be honest with you. It really makes me sick because we are in a position to know better.
The Philadelphia NAACP calling for those involved in the scandal to be fired, and the commissioner promising some would lose their jobs. But the police union standing behind its officers, saying it's premature and irresponsible for the commissioner to tell the public that police officers will be fired without a complete investigation. Our officers are entitled to due process just like any other citizen. Now, multiple departments are conducting internal reviews, including Phoenix and Dallas. In St. Louis, 22 officers are already under investigation, 3 placed on administrative leave. And Philadelphia's mayor calls the postings extremely disturbing. In a statement released by the commissioner, he says the comments do not in any way reflect the values and beliefs of the thousands of honorable officers who make up this department. But boy, so many questions this morning.
Please take it out of my face. What the fuck out?
You've just assaulted.
Comfortable. What do I need to get rid of?
Glassware is not allowed at the pool.
Okay, so glassware. What else do I need to get rid of? For you to be comfortable. What else do I need to get rid of? Glassware and music, or what else do you need? What will make you comfortable?
I'm going to go report you to the policing office.
Still recording.
Physically attacked by this woman.
Physically attacked? By who? He said these women earlier, now it's this woman. What's your story, baby? Because I haven't touched anybody. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never touched you. Recording. I'm sorry. That's funny, because your video is going to be a bunch of lies. White people love to lie on black women. White people, literally, this dude left his apartment. He left. I'm racist! Black. Actually, you can't get arrested for being racist, because you still out here. Come on. I didn't know black people can be racist. Black people cannot be racist. Y'all literally rape and steal people from land. Okay. So shut the fuck up. Still recording. I'm in my bikini. This man been following us for over.
On camera, 2 groups of black women say they were racially profiled at a Hyattsville swimming pool, but the man at the center of both viral incidents says she's only recorded the women and called the police because they were breaking the rules. Michael Quander broke this story. So Michael, how did all this start?
Well, Reese, look, here's the deal. Both groups will admit that they both had glass bottles at the swimming pool. And yes, that's against the rules at most pools. But the man caught up in the middle of both of these incidents says that he saw all of this going on from his apartment window and felt the need to go take matters into his own hands.
Glassware is not allowed.
You see this man recording on his phone? That's Nick Starstreet. He left his apartment on Saturday to let this group of 7 black women know that they were breaking the rules by having glass at the pool.
Okay, so glassware. What else do I need to get rid of? For you to be comfortable.
One of the women agreed to get rid of the glass and appeared to try to de-escalate the situation. But Starstreet reported the group to the leasing office and then called police.
This man called the whole cops on us.
This all went down at the Addition Apartments off East West Highway in Hyattsville. Police showed up, questioned the women, but they couldn't determine if anyone was breaking the law.
We have different perspectives than what he has.
A second incident happened the next day, on Sunday. It was pretty much the same scenario, a pair of black women at the apartment pool with a glass bottle. This time, you can hear one of the women asking Starstreet not to record her. She knocks the camera out of his hand, and then Starstreet calls 911.
Physically attacked by this woman.
You see, Starstreet says the woman assaulted him and bruised his chest. He is seen in this video following them in the parking lot while on the phone with police.
I get that people see me following people, but they don't realize that they just assaulted me, and I never even engaged with these people.
Despite comments online, Starstreet claims both of these incidents had nothing to do with race. He blames his autism diagnosis for the way he reacted.
The way that my mind works, I don't always click with other people.
You know, a lot of people are not going to see you as the victim here. What do you say to them?
It's the way I think. Like, I mean, I don't see it any other way. That's my problem.
Yeah, now I got to tell you, most people online are not buying that excuse. Now, we did find that this is not the first time that Starstreet has been at the center of controversy online. He has a history of making racially insensitive posts and anti-gay comments. Still, Starstreet says that since these videos went viral, his apartment door was vandalized with the word racist carved in it, and he's also been getting death threats.
I see this, man. It's crazy. Man, y'all, the lady not even white. She talking about something. She got black people in her family, man.
Okay, they got a problem with this.
Bust.
They have a problem with this, right? What that tells me that you're saying
It's crazy.
Right there.
She talking about something. She ain't got a problem with what's going on.
Yes, it's on Facebook.
Apparently this had a Jason mask on it before, and somebody stole the Jason mask off of it.
I said that that's why, but you know what?
Does not sound like there was any ill intent.
I